Welcome everybody with game number 1 of the day. We are in the loser bracket and we have the second round of the loser bracket with TempoStorm going up against Cognitive right now. Today is the last day of the Enter the Storm finals. We're going to see 5 best of 3 series. Actually not quite true. We're seeing 4 best of 3 series and 1 best of 5 and it's going to be epic. 16.5 is the patch and well currently for Cognitive a ban on Falstad, TempoStorm. They are not kidding around here. Bam, Zeratul banned out. And now things are going to become super interesting. First of all, Zool as a potential first pick for Cognitive, but that means the TempoStorm can head into Li Ming, and we have a couple of heroes that got prioritized yesterday very highly. We've seen a lot of Thralls, especially early on in the draft. We've seen Cloud9 focus once again on Muradin as a first pick, and they are already in the grand final, so we will see them later on, and we might see exactly that again. Blaze was trying to pick Muradin away from them a couple of times, and even banned him out, but it didn't really work for them in the end. It was still 2-1, so it was pretty impressive. Blaze currently waiting in the loser bracket final for their opponent. But let's focus at the match at hand, where we have Li Ming, as already suggested, taken right away. And guess what? That Thrall that I just mentioned finds his way into the draft very early too. TempoStorm saying like, alright, we got this, we got the Orc, and let's play it from here. When it comes to the healer, we actually see still a bit of a focus on Rhaegar overall, but also Uther has been picked yesterday quite a lot. For Cognitive at this point, they are looking for a snipe combo. They are going into a Jaina. Now, we haven't really seen too much Jaina yesterday. Every now and then she makes her way in the draft, and oftentimes when that happens, it is really the attempt to go into a snipe combo for the team. And at this point, we have Azul and Jaina already taken, and as a healer, Rhaegar. Now, over in Europe for the regional finals in Katowice, we actually had Rhaegar and Tyrande taken a couple of times, and Europe is not the only region that started to play this a little bit. In Europe, it was more Semi Insanity that played that style, but we've also seen a few of the North American teams kind of mirror that entire thing. And it could actually be that Cognitive is thinking about a massive snipe comp, and they could go into a Tyrande and a frontliner and just like try it with Zul and Tyrande and also Jaina to lock targets down and blast them away. So there's a chance that they do that. It would be a bit of a one-trick pony style, and you have to be careful with it, because your opponent can counterplay that by picking, for example, an Uther with a Divine Shield and a Cleanse, and make that a bit harder. So I don't really think that it's necessarily going to happen, but it's definitely one of the paths that they could go down if they want to go hyper-aggressive. TempoStorm is a little bit more worried about the front line here, and with them going into a ban on Muradin, they are going to pick Johanna again. Srey loves the hero. Johanna is very versatile. If you're up against a lot of like direct damage, for example, Johanna is absolutely amazing, and she really brings lots to the table, especially, of course, with the Iron Skin. So that's something that they can use here. And they ban Muradin out, over, by the way, in ETC here. Just saying, because ETC was one of, like these big points that we had yesterday. Like, NA really made a point of banning ETC out in nearly every game. We had one single game with ETC, if I'm not mistaken, and that was the last match between Blaze and Cloud9, where Cloud9 was able to take it then there. But for now, Cognitive, they have to think a bit about what they're going to play here themselves. Very unlikely that they ban a frontliner, because it would limit their own options even more. It's a little bit more likely that they're either going to try and force tempo into a certain healer, or that they're starting to ban out even more damage. Lunara, for example, is still around and has been a massive pain for teams yesterday to deal with. We have also the option here when it comes to damage to maybe ban Greymane out. So looks like Cognitive is currently thinking about Lunara, and I wouldn't blame them. Lunara and Greymane are definitely very annoying to deal with. Greymane more of a finisher and a poke, like a poke from a distance and then a finisher, and Lunara just like always trying to poke from a distance, whittling the hit points down with the poison, and she does a very good job at that. She is, of course, on the squishy side, so you have to be a bit careful when you play her and create some space with your front line, but Thrall is more or less designed to do that, and if you have a Johanna and know how to play her, which Srey definitely does, then you can always create a lot of space for your backline, and if Lunara gets away, then she is going to really wreck your team, and Cognitive agrees with that completely. They're saying, okay, let's ban her out, make sure that she can't really get at our front line. Zool doesn't like her. Everybody that gets attacked by her doesn't like her. For Tempo, that could mean that we see Greymane as the additional damage dealer. They have, of course, a couple of options on how to play this, but Greymane would definitely be one of these options. Johanna is more or less given that we're going to see her, and I think at this point in TempoStorm has to pick Johanna, because Cognitive don't have a frontliner yet either. Muradin is banned out, so if TempoStorm doesn't pick Johanna now, Cognitive's going to do that. Johanna taken. And with Johanna, personally, I would really like to see Greymane or alternatively Vala. Because Infernal Shrines, I mean, we have seen for Vala, especially like over the... It's actually really interesting. With the Vala changes that we've seen, and there she is, we have seen a little bit more of a focus. Like, teams have like trying to experiment a bit with that build. And the entire time on the first day, you've seen a couple of like complete auto-attack focused Valas. We've seen Valas going into the full like multi-shot build, especially on Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you need that wave clear. But then slowly and steadily over the second day, and now here also on the third, we're probably going to see a lot more of that hybrid build with like the composite arrow on level 1, the frost shot on level 13, and then the auto attacks that can really help you to dish out damage against single targets. Personally, I'm liking that build a lot. I feel it's really, really strong and gives you a lot of control during the fights, but also the damage. And most of the Valar players that have been rocking that build have come away with like dealing most of the damage in the game against heroes. Cognitive, they have only limited options when it comes to the front line, and they go for Stitches and a Sonya together with that. And I'm actually really liking this. It leaves them a bit weak, though, when it comes to the range damage. So they have 3 frontliners, if you don't count Rhaegar, who will have to position himself a little bit more passive in the backline because he can't heal himself anymore with Ancestral Healing. An alternative for Cognitive would have been to go into Greymane, which I think would have been a good choice as well, because Greymane with that cocktail build is still incredibly powerful. They decided in favor of Sonya, though, which is also very, very strong, especially with that lightning shield. And TempoStorm is opting for Morales over the potential Uther. So Morales in this case has a lot of space created for her thanks to Johanna and Thrall, so she should be safe, but she needs to make sure that she's on point with her positioning because Stitches is going to try and get that hook in against her. Cleanse on Morales is going to be a thing, and hooks can be cleansed out, as can be the prison, but keep in mind that there's a lot of stuff to cleanse at this point, and that thing has a 60-second cooldown. Game number 1, Infernal Shrines. We have everything set up, and guys, let's jump in. Cognitive versus TempoStorm. Game number 1 in the best of 3 series here at the end of the Storm, a loser bracket for North America. Game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, between Cognitive and TempoStorm. We are in the loser bracket. It's the second round of the loser bracket, and to the left side of the map in blue, here on Infernal Shrines, we have Caterpillar on Stitches, Faye on Jaina. We're seeing Ayakona on Rhaegar, Lorang on Zul, and Korthan Luck on Sonya. To the right side of the map, as you can see, Srey for TempoStorm is playing Johanna. We're having Goku on Thrall, Soldier on Li Ming, 6 on Morales, and KO is playing Vala, which once again is going into that build that we have seen so many times yesterday. I'm really liking that new Vala build that players are showing right now. Seeing her with, of course, multi-shot talent, composite arrows on level 1. Going to see that on level 13 as well with a frost shot, and then a focus on the auto attacks. Shade taken as the talent on Zul, so that's what he's currently going for. And, well, for now it's just like Soldier with a poke. Soldier actually on the level 1 talent went straight into Force Armor. And we see Morales with a Scouting Drone. So no prolonged Safeguard, no going into well, Trauma Trigger, but the Scouting Drone instead. So Vision for positioning. Actually an interesting talent if you think about the composition that is being used by the opponent now, who by the way split immediately. So usually we see a little bit of a like battle in the mid lane going on, but in this case they just said, okay, let's skip those shenanigans and go straight into our normal setup. Having already the rotation happening for TempoStorm with the 1-4 that they're running here. 1 hero up at the top lane and 4 that are rotating between mid and bottom. And they are starting to focus on Caterpillar on his Stitches. And he's the reason why we're actually seeing that Scouting Drone for Morales. For Visions, that positioning is a bit easier. Bone Prison lockdown. Sonya is already on the job, but the heals are there as 6 is making sure that Vala is not eliminated. With the level 1 talents, we are also seeing Warpaint. No, sorry, my bad. We're seeing Shot of Fury taken for Sonya. And we have the Hungry for More for Stitches for that hit point pull. Which makes, of course, perfect sense as he's the main tank. Sonya, more as a bruiser style, going to try and put some damage in. But in this game right now, we're going to have a very, very interesting setup when those shrines start to pop up. And we're going to see a bit of action. That battle between the bruiser-type heroes with Thrall against Sonya is something that we actually see quite a bit. But especially Morales is going to have a tough time here. And for Morales, I would still expect to see on level 7 then her going into Cleanse so that she can cleanse out a Bone Prison every now and then, or just a Hook, depending on the situation. But that's like the huge threat. Like, Hook can always, of course, screw with you a lot. In this case, I want to also now highlight the build once again for Stitches. I mean, he goes for the high hit point pool, they have him as the main tank, but this is a map where we oftentimes see Stitches go into the Slam talents instead to get a bit more control over the minions that spawn at the temple. So this is one of the things that could have been done here, but they decided against that and move up to the top, and Goku is a bit too far out here considering the rotation. That was bad positioning on his part, and down goes Thrall. Yeah, he's thought himself safe for some reason here, but he was way too far out, and that rotation hit him like a hammer. Everyone else was also moving in too, but he apparently did not see this one coming, and it was a bit of an obvious rotation since the temple was spawning up at the top lane. So right now we're having them 1 hero down. Thrall is going to make his way over, but of course allows the blue team, it allows Cognitive to get a few additional minion stacks before the fight even starts. On level 4, the two main tanks took amplified healing, which is going to help them, of course. And we have Zul still at the bot lane, where he's trying to push the lane in. And this is one of those styles that we have seen a lot on this map. Zul trying to just completely disregard the altars, the shrines, and instead just simply going for the push at bot lane, and KO and Goku are going to try and take him down. They succeed with that, but it also means that this Punisher is not even heavily contested. So we're definitely going to see a Punisher for Cognitive. And in experience, thanks to Zul pushing the bot lane, we are actually seeing now a lead for Team Cognitive, once that they soak this particular wave, at least that is. Vala is expected, went into Manticore as her level 4 talent, and we're seeing Feral Heart taken for Rhaegar for the additional self-sustain on the lane. Punisher baited in, and Korthenluck, one of the few heroes that is actually trying to take the structures down, and he will be able to put some more pressure on tower number 2, as Punisher number 1 is dead, but still a nice lead for experience for them. Now, one of the reasons why TempoStorm gave up the first Punisher is that it is rather weak. If you play correctly around the Punisher, he's not going to get too much value out of it. Oftentimes, we see an entire wall fall. In this case, it was only one of the towers, but of course, that's more or less about it. So if you soak properly against the Punisher and you rotate heroes to all lanes, the first Punisher shouldn't really give a team a massive lead. Unless, of course, you run a Sylvanas in your setup and you're able to enable the structures, then you are in a situation where you can actually get even more. Nice hook against Stray, but he still has his Iron Skin and he uses it right away. Having sustained talents with the last fight, especially for the Shrine fights, full missile build on Liming, who went after the Force Armor straight into the Charged Blast and into Seeker. And Morales is going into the Grenade focus. No Cleanse taken. So Cleanse disregarded, Clear instead, and we have the upgraded Ballistics. I mean, in this case, she can of course create some space, but lack of Cleanse will mean that hooks are definitely going to hit. You can't cleanse that out, and you won't be able to cleanse out the Bone Prison either. Cleanse actually, by a lot of the teams in the North American scene, very much disregarded these days. Rhaegar still went in for it though, and we have Rutma's Blessing for Zul, who now has a bit more sustain. Interestingly enough, KO is actually the one who's currently up at the top lane, playing this very safe on his Vala. He goes up against Sonya, of course, and Korthenluck is going to try and put the pressure on. But Thrall is now part of the rotation that we see between the two lanes at the bottom. He has that lockdown that they oftentimes need, and as a lane bully, he can, of course, also then use his Chain Lightning and just poke a bit. So in this case, they're starting to take camps. But it's interesting to see that they're shifting this around a little bit. The priority has just completely changed. Thrall is now in a position where he can definitely dish out the damage, and they want to have him part of the rotation because of the lockdown. But now we have the next shrine on the map, and this is where things are really becoming a little bit serious. Second Punisher is maybe still a little bit weak, but still, this bad boy can already do some damage, and of course you want to still fight for it. But we have still heroes on every single lane, so they keep the heartbeat up and try to maybe get into an early level 10 to have a slight advantage. And especially Cognitive is getting very, very close to reaching that goal. And then they would get more or less a free Punisher there. Stray and his boys are trying to at least get a few of these minions before level 10 hits, but they are starting to play with fire here. And as level 10 drops, now there's time to maybe even get a kill in. Korthenluck is already rotating over, has taken the Wrath of the Berserker. They're having Stitches with the Putrid Bile, and we see now Ring of Frost taken for Jaina after we are having her on level 7 now with Frostbite. At the same time, Rhaegar is going to go into the Ancestral Healing. Ayakona can try to be as mysterious as he wants to, but we know what's going to happen at level 10. On the other hand, with Zul, both of these talents are still totally viable, but we see these days a bit more of a focus on the Skeleton Mastery, and he locks it down and starts to join the fight in the middle, as now both of the teams are on level 10, and it's finally time for TempoStorm to contest that shrine. But we have Zul starting to move in. He takes the wave down first. With the level 10 abilities, we have once again the Rain of Vengeance taken for Vala, which has become a talent that is a lot more popular for the players, especially, of course, since you can capitalize also on the Sundering of Thrall if he uses it properly. And you can get that stun in plus heavy damage. But Cognitive ends up with the second Punisher. So Punisher number 2 is now ready, and yes, there comes that jump straight over the wall as he's baited in. But this time the towers should fall. First one is down, Korthenluck and Caterpillar are already on it, and Zul rotated to the top lane to make sure that he can push that in. Another tower has been eliminated, and slowly and steadily, Cognitive takes a bit of a lead here. So, all in all, we haven't really seen too many big team fights. One hero has died for each team, but we are seeing an objective control for Cognitive that TempoStorm so far at least can't match. And that gives a good lead-in experience to Cognitive. Nothing too fancy just yet, but something that they might be able to capitalize on later on. No fort has been eliminated yet either, and the teams are still struggling for map control, mostly by taking camps on the map now. We're having one at the bot lane and the other one up here at the top. But it's really important now to see how those engagements go, because Stitches is of course always good for a hook, and if you can blast the target away, then you have the chance to really start this fight with a 5 versus 4 situation. But TempoStorm is not really afraid of the team fight. Stray is always very, very far out, and as long as Morales is positioned nicely, should be able to keep them alive. KO gets the safeguard. Morales even moving around. I'm really liking this. Playing super safe. The problem is that the hook against Vala happens exactly at that moment in time. Very well done. Stray is still alive on Johanna, but at some point Morales heals are not going to help you anymore. Great play here by Cognitive. They get a double kill, they lose Rhaegar, Ayakona's down, couldn't use his Ancestral, of course, to heal himself here. That doesn't work any longer. Positioning for Rhaegar players is these days about everything. But we have also a very nice push going on at the top lane, thanks to the Shaman camp that was taken a bit earlier, and Zul is starting to move over there to help out. Corpse Explosion as the talent, we see again Stormfront. Now keep in mind that this talent has been incredibly popular over the last few days on the North American server here. Stormfront is definitely something that allows Jaina to stay far in the back, far away from everyone who could potentially hurt her. So auto attacks are not really the most important thing for Jaina anymore, and therefore Blizzard damage, that's where it's at. But the last fight really went well once again for Cognitive, and they are in the lead in experience right now. Pretty much what we've talked about earlier. That lead in experience allows them to go into an earlier level 13 talent, and that is a lead that you don't want to go up against. Stray is still moving in, trying to steal a few of these away. Well done, actually. Uses his punish and takes quite a few of those minion stacks. So job well done. Still on the spot. Six is there to help him out, but here comes that first hook. Heals are activated and the safeguard as well. But Caterpillar is also there. Look at that burst damage. They all go for Stray, and there's just nobody to help him out. And now Morales is also completely exposed. Nice kill streak here for Cognitive, and TempoStorm is definitely starting to struggle, and a lot at that. Stray was just like too far out. There was nobody there to help him except for Morales, and Morales alone cannot negate this much damage. And that makes now an opening for Cognitive. They can move straight for the fort. They don't even have to go for the Punisher with all their heroes. Instead, they start pushing the bot lane a little bit, preparing it for the Punisher already. And as long as there's nobody really forcing them back, they can do that all day long. Thrall isn't even with them. Like, Thrall moved to the top lane and said, like, boys, we're not going to make anything happen at the bot lane either. Let's just make sure that we get at least the experience at the top and start to not fall too far behind. But if you look at the levels right now, we have 15 versus 13.5. And that is a massive problem right now. We are on level 13 versus 13 talents, but now the structures at bot lane are going to be eliminated. And this is going to be a very, very early level 16 on the side of Cognitive. They're having, at the same time, Glass Cannon taken. There's the control with a Frost Shot over the fights, and it's going to help Vala to go into execution as a level 16 talent. But overall, it's a very solid situation here for Cognitive, and it looks more and more like they might be able to take the lead in this best-of-3 series. We're having a bit of a fight, on the other hand, where Faye is very, very far out on the map to the left side. Got caught there, and that allows Goku and Stray to get that kill. Yeah, very well done. I'm not quite sure how exactly Faye ended up in that situation, but she is dead. And now we're seeing the 16 talent still ready for Cognitive, but that was, of course, a bit of an unfortunate kill. 16 brings us also the Fishing Hook. We have, at the same time, after the Corpse Explosion, now the Skeleton Mastery taken for Zul, and Nerves of Steel for Sonya, who in 13, of course, invested into the Mystical Spear. For Rhaegar, we are going to, well, actually, like with Rhaegar, we have a couple of choices, but it's likely, and that is that we are going to see the Totem, because, well, you have level 1 with the Colossal Totem already. Earthgrasp Totem makes perfect sense at this point. On level 16 for Jaina, we have actually seen her also go into the Blizzard talent quite a bit. Oftentimes Numbing Blast or Northern Exposure are more the talents that you're looking at here, depending on what kind of style you're trying to play. But North America has shown a couple of deviations when it comes to the build on Jaina, and this could be another one, as currently Faye is waiting very, very long before she takes the 16 talent. Push in the mid lane, trying to just like push the advantage a little bit, and if they just poke a bit more from a distance, they're going to get this fort. And there it is. Fort taken, and again that lead. Couples Therapy, by the way, has been claimed as a talent on level 13 now for Morales. And so far, the team fight's definitely ending up in favor of Cognitive. I mean, but at least we have level 60 now also for TempoStorm. So TempoStorm is actually in a situation where they can start to make a couple of more plays. We have Second Opinion, Mirror Ball, we're seeing Executioner taken as well, and also a bit more sustain for Srey, who went straight into the Holy Renewal. So they have at least a fighting chance for these fights. It's still a long way before level 20 is going to hit for either one of these teams, so it's all still pretty solid. 2 forts have been lost, but the keeps are all still standing. The teams are starting to go into the camps again before the shrine is activated. And the first thing that Cognitive does is de-push the top lane. So that gives them actually a pretty nice beat during that altar, because, well, their own camp is still pushing the top, so they can now rotate into the middle, get either a bit of a lead when it comes to the minion count, or we're going to see, theoretically, TempoStorm lose a few more structures at the top. And you can already tell that they're starting to rotate heroes topside, because they have to make sure that the Shaman is going to go down. That allows, as predicted, Cognitive to take the slight lead right over here. So things are going to get really nasty in this fight as we have everybody jumping in. There comes the Rain of Vengeance, but oh, Thrall and Vala not coordinating properly. Nice heal on Caterpillar. Stitch is alive. The answer still was hitting hard. And here comes the kill against Srey. The hook doesn't hit anybody, but they have to move back. And with the tank gone, this is another Punisher for Cognitive. At least that should be. Most of the rogue abilities are already out. At this point, Medic didn't even use the Stim Drone. So this is really starting to become a huge problem for TempoStorm. The coordination is just not there. The Rain of Vengeance wasn't really too bad. Vala was already way far in and tried to just get those stuns off. But at the same time, Thrall used the Sundering and just pushed people out of the second stun. And that was a massive, massive issue. You have to coordinate these two heroic abilities better. They're absolutely key heroics that you have to use if you want to get your kills. And you have to sync them up. That didn't happen. Srey died. And now we have a massive push going on in the middle. Thrall rotated topside again, trying to make sure that he gets some experience. But that also means that he's joining the party for the defense here very, very late. But the one thing that is evident as well is that Cognitive is having a bit of a hard time to really capitalize on those Punishers that they get. So they go through the wall, they are on level 19 right now, but they can't go for the keep just yet. The one thing that's really important in Heroes of the Storm is that once that you get an advantage, you really need to make sure that you are pressuring it and that you get something like something noteworthy, aka you need to get some keeps, you need to get some structures, you really need to translate that advantage that you have into killing structures off, and that's what they have to do a bit later. Sundering being used, a defensive one, so nice escape, but he's in cooldown now, and he might still die as 6 is also low. Great Rain of Vengeance, but Vala exposed and gets hammered into the ground as Zul uses his scythe to make her one head shorter. So once again, they're jumping in, and this could be a disaster for TempoStorm. And it is. They lose their heal. They lose their front line. Down they go. It is a quad kill, and Soldier might actually fall if Caterpillar gets that hook. Wow, nice dodge. Soldier is able to get away, but, well, not for long, because in the end, they are chasing him down like this. And this is going to be game. Level 20 has been reached, and the Bone Spear is ready. They are starting to go through the keep, and with all the time that they have on the death timers, they are just simply going for the core. Have to wait a second until the keep actually falls. But Cognitive is taking the lead against TempoStorm here with very impressive play in game number 1. 11 kills against 3, level 20 versus level 18, and especially Zul with 170,000 siege damage, of course, an absolute playmaker in this game. Congratulations, well played. TempoStorm down 1 game against Cognitive now, and we're going to jump into game number 2 of the best of 3 series. Alright everybody, game number 2 starting up really fast here. TempoStorm is eager to go into the second map, and we have Tomb of the Spider Queen already selected for map number 2. Cognitive in the lead, of course, against TempoStorm now, and this is a very different game as we have a map where especially siege damage is absolute key. Pushing lanes, getting control over the objective, the 2 turning points, is very crucial when you're playing on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and right now we have Zul for exactly that reason banned out immediately. TempoStorm, actually it feels a little bit like TempoStorm doesn't really have the most experience playing with the hero, because at this point it would have been a very good choice for them as the first pick, but they ban him out as the first pick and instead try to run a Zagara here, which could make perfect sense, but of course gives a couple of very strong heroes also over to Cognitive, who banned out Zeratul in this case, which we have seen on this map played a lot, especially by teams like Cloud9. So TempoStorm at this point making sure that at least Zul cannot push these lanes back, but with Zagara they already have a very, very strong hero that can control the map, has a great disengage and also set up in the team fights with the Maw, but more so just gives vision with the creep tumors, and Cognitive will have to react against that somehow. Johanna, Thrall are being picked. Now, Cognitive definitely trying to, first of all, take Johanna away from TempoStorm, even allowing them to go into a Muradin if they want to. And with Thrall, they have, of course, a very nice tool to just zone Zagara out to the bot lane a little bit. So what Cognitive has here is a hero that they can set up against Zagara at the bot lane. So we have our 2 bot laners already secured. We have Johanna for nice wave clear. And as we said, wave clear and getting map vision here is absolute key. With TempoStorm now having the option to go into a Li Ming for the poke. Li Ming overall with the damage output is pretty crazy and very strong. There's a couple of heroes that we definitely have to watch out for in this case now. Greymane once again would be a great addition because his cocktail build, even after Blizzard nerfs, is still very strong and can do a lot of siege damage. But also another hero that we have seen yesterday on this particular map, which worked actually out quite well, is Sylvanas. Sylvanas is starting to make a bit of a comeback on Tomb of the Spider Queen. She fell off slightly, but people are starting to play a lot more with Sylvanas here, and I could actually see Sylvanas ending up in this draft as well, depending on how the rest of the draft is now starting up. TempoStorm is really thinking about Muradin right now, because they know at this point that if they don't take Muradin, he's most likely going to be banned out. So they have to make that choice. Do they take Muradin at this point? Do they pick a healer instead? Or do they go for another lane clear or wave clear hero? So they have to think a little bit about what are the alternatives. If Muradin is banned out, who are we going to go for? Are we going to play that with a Leoric here? Are we going to go into a Stitches, for example? And that's a question that they have to answer right now, since if they don't take a tank, there will most likely be a ban on Muradin by Cognitive. And it looks like TempoStorm is prioritizing that heal a bit higher. They go for Rhaegar, who has also pretty decent wave clear with his lightning shield. And this is a chance for Cognitive to now ban Muradin. This is really the question of how much they actually fear playing against Muradin, because right now it's once again noteworthy that they didn't even go for Muradin. They picked Johanna immediately because they said, hey, on this map, Johanna has the better wave clear. We really want to play her, so let's make sure that we take her. And you are completely alright going into Muradin because we don't really care too much. At this point, they have a chance to ban Muradin out, but the thing is, they don't really have to. They can also just think about what else is available to TempoStorm, but as is, it's Muradin that they ban out. So TempoStorm, with that thought process, as I said, they had to make that choice, Muradin, yes or no. They decided against it. They could theoretically still go into an ETC, into a Stitches. They can play with the Leoric. And at least for now, TempoStorm has a ban on Jaina, which apparently they didn't really like too much in the last game, where Cognitive went for that alternative build with the triple Blizzard on level 16 and also the Stormfront on level 13 for the increased range. But they also played it with Rhaegar, who has that slow on the totem, of course, and this time they don't get that chance. But they have Johanna, who can use the Condemn, so apparently TempoStorm wasn't really too happy about that. Cognitive, at this point, I mean, they still need range damage. They don't have range damage yet, so I personally would like to see a Greymane. Lunara is good as well. I would like to see both, to be honest with you. Greymane for me is one of those heroes that I love because you have that safe poke from a distance, and then you can still go into Worgen form when you feel that there needs to be someone to finish the job. So they could still go Greymane. We have seen Vala every now and then here, which I don't mind too much, but I really feel that if you go for Vala for wave clear, you usually have better options. And we've seen that before. Vala for me is a hero that plays with a hybrid build and tries to get the most out of the auto attack talents on 4-7 and then execution on 16 with the slow and control that you get from multi-shot talents. So I like that about her. I feel when it comes to wave clear, there are right now just better alternatives after Blizzard nerfed the multi-shot damage. So we could see Greymane, we could see a Sylvanas, as I already mentioned before. Both of them have very nice wave clear and can actually be played on this map. And TempoStorm in this case has actually a chance to go for Sylvanas. If they really want to go for something like Zagara Sylvanas, which is a bit old school, they could do that. But first they seem to be locking down Leoric. And with Leoric, I have to admit that I would really like them to run another frontliner. Maybe a Sonya. Sonya could be nice here. They could also go into just like a Stitches, I'd say. But I would probably like Sonya a little bit more. But Leoric needs someone else at the front line. Him as the only frontliner is usually a recipe for disaster. There are very, very few games where solo Leoric has actually won a game, and it seems that TempoStorm is totally agreeing on that point, and they are starting to lock that Stitches in. So they have two frontliners, which makes their life a lot easier, and of course creates some space. It's actually like it's a pretty sweet setup that they have right now. All right, so let's see how that's. Yeah, okay, Stitches is taken in. And let's see how exactly Cognitive is going to react to that. Stitches and Leoric as a front line. Thinking about the heroes that they could pick here. It's not going to be Sylvanas. Greymane is another question. Like, you could play him here. We could in this setup actually see any kind of hero with a giant killer as well if you're trying to put damage on the front line. Falstad hasn't been picked yet. Falstad in this setup could actually also, there he is, I like it. He could play an auto attack build. Oftentimes when it comes to wave clear, and these days in particular, Gathering Storm is prioritized. But if you're up against this many frontliners, like 2 tanks, you can actually go for that auto attack build. Normally Falstad is just a bit safer if you go for the Gathering Storm on level 1, but if you're really alright hitting targets at the front, and if there are a couple of targets that present themselves to you, then having the auto attack build can still hurt a lot, especially after level 13. So I think that Falstad here with an auto attack build would actually be a really nice choice. In my personal opinion, they already have the wave clear that they need. The Gathering Storm is not necessarily needed. Comes, of course, down to the matter of preference then as well in the end. But if you want to execute pressure against the front line, then auto attack build in this case would actually be a bit better even. So guys, game number 2 is going to start up. I really like the draft for Cognitive, but TempoStorm, they have confidence in the draft here, and they have to prove something right now if they want to stay in the tournament and force game number 3. So let's jump right into the second game and check out which team is going to take it here. Rancor, cheers for the resub, 16 months in a row. Thank you, buddy. And well, let's see on Tomb with the Spider Queen which team is going to take it game number 2. Game number 2, everybody, and Cognitive is in the lead. So this is going to be, this is actually going to be a very interesting match, and I want to see if Cognitive is able to take that 2-0 against TempoStorm and advance to the next round of the tournament. To the left side of the map, we have TempoStorm now here on Tomb with the Spider Queen with Srey on Stitches, Goku on Leoric, 6 on Rega, K on Zagara, and Soldier is playing Leeming. To the right side of the map at the same time, it is Cognitive with Caterpillar currently playing on Johanna, Korthenlak on Onara, Glorang on Thrall, and at the same time we're having Ayakona on Uther, and we're seeing Faye on Falstad. And that Falstad is a hero that we've been talking about a bit, and in this case Faye decides to go instead into the Gathering Storm build. So not that focus on the 2 frontliners with trying to get additional stacks on the auto attacks, which would have been an option to even increase the damage that you can dish out with a level 13 Talent Giant Killer, but more of a wave clear build that we have now, which still does incredible damage, of course, against heroes, don't get me wrong. And it's a little bit safer also to go for the Gathering Storm on level 1. But there are 2 ways how you can actually play it with this particular setup. One of the reasons why also a lot of the Falstad players went away from the auto attack build is that these days there's more of a trend to go into a single warrior again and not into just such a melee heavy front line for a lot of teams. But in this case it could have been an option for them. Nice move by Faye, using the barrel roll to escape. Srey was already hoping to get a hook in and maybe an early kill. But the rotation between the teams is starting. Mid-top rotation has been ongoing for a little bit now. And at the bot lane, as expected, Zagara and Thrall are dancing their little dance. So for now, we're seeing, of course, as much stacking as possible here for Uther. I mean, there's not too many stacking talents in play for Team Cognitive, to be honest with you. We're seeing Srey even going into the damage build, since he's not the only frontliner. With the Auric, we have the reanimation stacks that he's currently hoping for. And we have also on the side of Leeming now Power Hungry Taken, which of course are going to make the, or is going to make the regeneration globes a little bit more important. But since there's no seasoned marksman, stacking is not like the biggest thing in this game right now. And at the same time, we're currently also seeing, of course, Faye trying to get a bit of stacking on her Gathering Storm as well. But this is really an important map for TempoStorm now. If they lose here, then they're out of the tournament. The Cognitive so far has played a very nice first game, and TempoStorm will have to somehow meet that. It's very beefy setup they have with the double front line here. But interestingly enough was really that Caterpillar went for that Johanna very early as a pick. So Cognitive saying, hey, we need Johanna here for that wave clear, and we want to make sure that we get her as a single tank. And of course one of the things that's going to work for her as well is that iron skin that she can use. In this case, I could even actually see them go on level 13 into Hold Your Ground, which is a great talent if you're trying to reduce the cooldown reduction or the cooldown a little bit on your iron skin, if you're trying to stay alive, and if you are, of course, attempting to increase that shield that you get a bit as well. Oftentimes we still see that Burning Rage taken, so it depends a bit on how the game goes, but it's definitely a good alternative if you feel that you are pressured a lot and focused a lot by your opponent. The bot lane pressure against Glorang, and it's successful. It's only the kill though, like not too much accomplished with that yet. We're having still, Goku trying to get a few of those gems, but as you can see here, they didn't lose too many. Faye moved in to soak experience, so the death on Thrall is a nuisance, but it's not really something that lets them fall behind right now. We're having in this case currently Caterpillar and Ayakona moving around already. At this point, I mean, it's really important to note that if you lose a hero in the early game, oftentimes hero losses, it's not really about the experience that the death of the hero gives to the opponent. It's more about like the experience that you as a team lose if you have nobody else on the lane. And that's one of the reasons why Faye reacted immediately with a fly into the bot lane. So you can see that there's a slight lead right now in experience for TempoStorm, but nothing too crazy. And as we are seeing Corthan Luck soak the lane or the wave up at the top, it's nearly negated. So that one death on Thrall is not really a big deal just yet. It oftentimes is more important to see how many gems have been lost on this map, and also if you are, of course, able to soak experience still. In the later game, it's a bit different. That is, of course, annoying. The later game is a little bit different, and the reason is quite simple. Those death timers are, of course, increasing over time, and if you're down a hero for like a minute, then it's a whole different ballgame. But this early on, as long as you soak experience, is actually fine. But it shows how much pressure there actually is from TempoStorm. With them getting 2 kills this early in the game, they are starting to take the control over the map, and they want to, of course, secure their turn-ins. Faye with a very nice dodge on the hook here. I'm liking it. And in terms of talents, we have now again Dominance taken on level 4. The mana reduction for Rhaegar, and we have Hardened Bones over Fealty onto Death, and we see Putrid Ground taken for Stray. So Stitches again with that focus on the Slam build. We've been talking about this a bit at the beginning. Doesn't really necessarily need to go into any of the stacking talents, considering that we have a double warrior set up for them. Also, on the side of Uther now, going straight into the Boundless Conviction. And I want to highlight the build on Faye. Faye at this point does not go into Flow Rider on level 4. So if you're a bit unfamiliar with the current style that Falstad players have chosen, then what you try to do is normally over the Gathering Storm to go straight into the Flow Rider, which basically says that as long as your trade is active, you're getting a cooldown reduction, like your abilities recharge 100% faster, which is pretty sweet actually. And then on level 16 you can combo that off with a talent that also activates your trade much faster. The activation time is reduced from 6 seconds down to 2, which is of course insanely strong. And that helps you to get Power Throw after, or not Power Thrower, but Hammering after Hammering out, and that's pretty sweet. But Faye is a bit afraid to go this deep into the fight, and she wants to use the Power Throw for the increase and the Boomerang on level 7 right now. So with Power Throw, she has the chance to stay farther in the back, and that gives her safety. She won't be able to really spam the Hammering out like she could with the Flow Rider build, but she's able to stay a bit farther back and make sure that nobody is able to jump her in these fights. So that's important. But you can really tell how TempoStorm is really attempting to control the flow of the game. They get the first Web Weaver wave, we've seen them do some pressure in the middle, at the bottom, they get an entire level lead, and that's all that this map is about oftentimes. This is a map where in the early game you get a lot of snowball if you play it right, because what happens now is that as long as TempoStorm can control the 2 turn-in points a bit longer, they will hit level 10, then there's no way anymore for Team Cognitive to actually turn in, and TempoStorm is going to get a second turn in. You oftentimes see teams here snowball a bit with a talent advantage at level 10 and at level 13. The big problem is that if you then play a bit too overconfident and you lose a hero or 2, all of that can be negated towards level 16 again. But up to that point, you are running the show. We've seen very similar developments in games yesterday already, but let's see how this is actually going to be right now. So at this point, we're having, Stray is starting to turn it in again. They are controlling the point, and look at the experience here. Level 10 is going to be there soon enough, and that's going to be a very, very big moment here for TempoStorm, as long as they can hold on to that. We have Uther, by the way, with no choice on level 7 yet. Ayakona is, well, kind of famous to wait with his talents until he really needs them. But we could once again see for him also that cleanse taken right now. At the same time, there's that hook again, and Ayakona is trapped with the Entomb as level 10 is in play, but there's no way for TempoStorm to really capitalize on it. They don't have the damage there, it's only the 2 tanks and the healer. The damage was actually a little bit far off. And Faye is using that Power Throw right now to really just poke from a distance, get a couple of stacks together for her Gathering Storm, and make sure that she prepares for the later stages of the game, which is actually very, very cool right now. So at this point, Goku is already in position. Needs to be careful here though, but he has of course that wave that they need. And they only need one, like they need just a couple of like gems turned in. And Cognitive is a little desperate right now. Cognitive is standing there saying like, yeah, we kind of have to stop them, but we don't have 10 yet. Let's try to somehow get that talent, and they have it now. This is the chance for them to actually make that turn-in happen. Zagara is already at the bottom. She doesn't have any gems. The turn-in spot is the top one, and the blue Web Weavers are descending again as Goku was sneaking in his gems. So they are getting the second wave, and this will basically catapult them towards level 13, which is going to be incredibly good. So I'm really interesting to see how this is going to work out now for Cognitive. Again, no talent taken for Uther, but we have him at this point with the Wave of Light, and there's the Divine Shield now. So the mid lane is where we're going to concentrate our efforts on, and both of the teams are, well, Goku with the attempted trap on Khaldor. I like the approach with the flank that he had, but he did miss the Entomb, and that's an issue, since if he can trap Bambi there, and she goes down, then it's going to be paradise for them. A 5 versus 4 push with the Web Weavers, hell yeah, count me in. But as you can see now, there's still a massive defense going on. The problem, of course, is that we still have a couple of waves of the Web Weavers, especially at the bottom. Here comes that kill against Li Ming, though, and they go in. Faye, nice gust here, but she has to be careful that she doesn't fall now, because she went deep for this one. It's the kill against Faye, but the counter kill against Zagara. The bot lane fort has been lost. Khaldor Luck is trying to move in. Goku, he's not going to make it. Well, actually, that ancestral healing is still there, so that changes things, of course. Khaldor Luck is already hopping away. They saved the fort in the mid lane, but they lost the one at the bottom of the map. And up to the top, we are seeing Stray in position, Caterpillar in position for the Web Weaver number 2. So all in all, it's still no level 13 talent yet for TempoStorm, but they have 3 kills against 2. They are playing a very solid game. There's creep tumors everywhere. I could have actually seen Ayakona go again into his AoE talent on level 7, which he has done in the past. But this is more and more looking like we are going to see Johanna with Burning Rage on level 13 to get a bit more control over those creep tumors that are everywhere. But we have seen Holy Fire by Uther in the past, actually. Ayakona has used that before. Stun into condemn. Stray is there, and then he's gone. He's down. Goku is trying to get away, actually collects the gems that have been lost here. But this is now finally a turn and chance. Uh-oh, Soldier? Okay. Soldier is a bit far out there, and if there's not a massive heal from 6 in a second, then he is dead. Nearly dying. I actually think they could have gone in and taken him down, but the Red Web Weavers are going to descend now. Soldier definitely... this guy has a pair of balls on him, I can tell you that much. The balls of steel right there. 5 heroes, no problem. I'll take that on. Nearly falling, but now we have the Web Weavers. The turn has been completed. That is going to relieve some pressure from the bot and top lane, and in the mid lane they can start to pressure back the wave and then maybe get a few structures themselves. So Cognitive is really now having a chance to make this play happen. And they still have a massive amount of gems, by the way. They can get a second turn in after this if they don't lose anyone now. So the level 13 talent is going to become an issue in a few seconds. So they are up against the talent advantage. But Cognitive is, of course, eager to make some plays here. Stitches with the slam build, still going into Relentless now on level 13. And Rhaegar with the tidal waves for the cooldown reduction, because he realizes against Lunara he needs to have more heals available, since Lunara with all of that AoE poison damage is going to be a big pain. Nice isolation! Very well done! And even the Mighty Gust to make sure that Rhaegar can't hit his Ancestral. Great play here by Faye, and also of course Glorong with his Thrall. Perfect Sundering, it doesn't get any better than that. They have level 13 now, and they are really starting to push the issue here. We are seeing already on Lunara and on Falstad, despite the build so far, we have them both with the Giant Killer. Goodbye frontline, that's what they're currently telling us. And as expected, it's the Burning Rage on 13 for Johanna so that she can take care of those creep tumors on the map. Thrall is saying, well, I've got enough of this, I'm going into a spell shield, I want to have a bit more sustain, and they've been focusing me quite a bit. I'm the one who's always going to be in Li Ming's face, and therefore I need to make sure that she's not going to just laser me around. At this point, we're seeing, again, a bit of a rotation at the top, but Goku is currently starting to pressure in and starts to take another fort down. We're having, still everybody turning in. As I said, it's the second turn-in that they have now, and this is going to be an easy turn-in. They just need one more to turn in, and Ayakona is the one that they sent towards the spot, and now Web Weaver number 2 is going to come into play. So as already said before, this is really the time when you can suddenly start to make a massive comeback. You defended against your opponent, you didn't lose too many heroes, you didn't lose too many structures, experience is the same, and this is another Web Weaver wave, and these bad boys, they scale over time, of course. So the red Web Weavers are going to come into play once more, and this is the time for Cognitive to really show what they have made of. They need to make some plays here. Hook already dodged, that was important. If you lose a hero early on when the Web Weavers descend, then you are in trouble. So right now, they're starting to jump in once again, and we're seeing the lockdown attempt against Leoric. Doesn't work yet, he Wraith walks away, but even with that orb poke that we see from Li Ming, we're still seeing this fort fall. There's no way to save it. The bottom fort has already been eliminated, Web Weaver is active at the top, but this one is definitely a goner. Again, the laser from Li Ming. The fort is going to fall though, and the rotation to this top has now started, since we are seeing Cognitive with an attempt to get even closer to level 16, which is going to be their next talent as well. Stray is already there, far out, he needs to be careful. Ancestral is hitting very early this time, and for good reason. He was in a lot of danger there. Yeah. hooks the spider. It was a nasty spider. That spider insulted Stitch's mother, and that's why that hook was like point on. That's exactly what he wanted to hit here. Oh, nice, and that is actually not working well for TempoStorm. They're about to lose Zagara. No, she gets hit. How is she surviving? Why did nobody kill her? This was an easy kill right there, but nobody felt the need to deliver the final blow. There was a desperate attempt of TempoStorm to keep their heroes alive, and I cannot believe that it worked. They used the Maw, and they also used Entomb to zone people out, but both of them didn't hit anything. They actually hit the same spot with it, and it didn't work at all for them. Zagara was about to die, but nobody delivered the final blow, and that allowed her to get away. So a bit of a missed opportunity here for Cognitive. There was, of course, a lot of fire. They were on fire as well when they're trying to move in, so it was definitely understandable that they were a little bit reluctant to overextend here, but that was definitely just like one poke away from eliminating Zagara. Like any kind of chain lightning would have been sufficient. We have still on 16 now the, again, Holy Renewal for Johanna, which allows her to stay alive a bit longer during these fights. We've seen Nature's Culling, plus also the Starwood Spear now for Lunara, and Forked Lightning as level 16 talent for Glorang's Thrall, which has actually been a talent that he's been favoring over the last few days. It's very, like, it's a bit of an individual style to go for this particular talent, but it allows you to spam a little bit more. And the cool thing about, like, that spam on the Chain Lightning is that if you play it right, you get more value out of your level 7 talent as well. Follow through triggers extra damage after you use an ability. So if you do that properly with a Forked Lightning and you go always into like lightning, attack, lightning, attack, you get extra damage out of it. First of all, you have to survive though. Okay. Maybe a bit of an overkill here using the Mighty Gust and also the Divine Shield, but what works, works. Down goes Zagara, and now it's a 5 versus 4, and they are on the chase, and this is the end of Goku. Oh, Srey, he's trying to get those gems, but he might actually fall. The fly in. No, Faye cancels it. Faye cancels it as Ancestral Healing hits. She already did that before, and she ended up dying. They exchanged for another kill, though. But in this case, she saw Stitches getting low and trying to escape, and she was willing to commit to that attack, went for the fly-in, but then when she saw that Ancestral Healing was popped, she immediately cancelled it, and I think it was a very wise choice here. We have at the same time now with the level 16 talents, Hammer rank once again increased by the hammer time. We're seeing Hardened Focus, and Forked Lightning is a talent that we already talked about a little bit. And after Illusion Mist, we're also seeing Diamond and Skin now. So the whole build from Li Ming here is going into the Teleport build, starting with the Calamity on level 7 with the damage when you blink in. At the same time then, Illusionist is going to give you a little bit more safety, and Diamond Skin does of course do the same thing as well. We're having the Earthgrass Totem with the Unyielding Despair and the Pulverize. But you can really tell that these later fights have been ending up in favor of Cognitive several times. Even though we had a couple of like heroic abilities maybe not synced up perfectly, but the team is doing a very, very nice job here at starting to push the entire lanes that we're seeing. And just look at the damage output that we have on heroes like Lunara. 52,000? That's crazy. That's really crazy. And a good reason also why we see Johanna taken. 0 deaths. Johanna didn't die yet. Not once. And she has 114,000 damage. Glorang locked down. Committing even to... Oh, nice. The Entomb is there. And immediately Faye once again with the safety net. It's her panic button. She always goes for it every single time that an engage happens on the side of TempoStorm. Faye is ready with a Mighty Gust, pushes them away. Glorang already using his Sundering here to stay alive. That's of course a lot of abilities and cooldown, but they didn't lose a hero yet, and they can't disengage. It still means that TempoStorm does not lose a keep, and that's of course a very important fact. To the top lane, they lost a few of their structures, and the keep has suffered a bit of damage, but it's not too crazy yet. The experience, on the other hand, that's a different matter. TempoStorm, after initially taking the lead with EXP and levels, they are now more than a level behind, actually. 1.5 levels behind. What they need is kills. They need kills and they need a bit of control over the map. They have 86 gems that they have not been able to turn in. Mostly thanks to Srey, actually, who moved in after Leoric died and collected the gems. So if he dies, if he falls and they lose those 57 gems, then they are in a lot of trouble. Very early Diamond Skin actually being popped, Iron Skin here popped by Caterpillar. Again the lockdown attempt against Glorang. This time they wait a little bit. Where's the Divine Shield? There's no Divine Shield because of the Maw. Oh, what a setup. Cawthon Luck actually is about to die as well. Uther is dead. Stitches has fallen. It's a 2-for-1 right now. Caterpillar is attacked. Faye does not have the Mighty Gust anymore. Used it in that fight, but it did not work. That Maw was on point. Really well played here. With KO using the Maw, there was no chance for Uther. It was actually kind of funny if you think about it. Earlier on, one of the problems was that Faye used the Mighty Gust at the same time that Uther used his Divine Shield to save Thrall. So they sacrificed 2 heroic abilities against 1. And they did try to avoid that. And you could really tell that this time Uther was waiting a little bit more because he was saying like, well, as long as he doesn't die, I don't have to use my heroic ability. I can just wait a bit longer. All of a sudden that Maw pops up and then the damage focus is on Thrall. And, well, there's nobody there to save him. So, well played here by TempoStorm. Cognitive still in the lead, though. But the Web Weavers could change that. The Web Weavers could definitely change that, so we are going to see how they're going to work with it. At this point, again, we're having Soldier starting to go for the poke. Zagara actually pushing the bot lane before the Web Weavers descend. But look at that experience bar. Yes, thanks to those kills, we are seeing Cognitive, TempoStorm coming a bit closer. But level 20 is going to be a big, big deal. And especially when it comes to the defense, of course. And that could happen right now. So after the Web Weavers here are defeated, it's going to hit level 20. And that's going to be the most important part. One more wave is all that they need. Nothing at the top. They're waiting for the bottom. Faye is going for a very interesting hammerang. I actually thought he would try to clear that wave a little bit faster, which he doesn't. Allows Caterpillar to take that. And there's the level 20 right now. And with that, TempoStorm would be well advised to just say like, sayonara and move away here. So that's what they're going to go for. At this point, we're having them already in position. Yes, there we go. Galloping Gate has been chosen. Epic Mount. So much positioning advantages now for Cognitive in those fights. Indestructible. And what is Uther going for? Ayakona keeps us guessing once again. Could it be that he goes for Redemption? Could it be? Like, maybe. But actually, like back in the day, you could take Redemption after you died. Oh, well, here comes that lockdown. And the kill against Liming. Oh my god. KO is even pushed away. Faye in this situation is just saying, like, alright, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm just going to use Mighty Gust here. She's not going to maul anybody. We are going to get that second kill no matter what. Goodbye, Rhaegar. Mighty Gust has a 40-second cooldown. Who cares? Nobody does. And that was a great choice. Double kill for them. That's an easy turn-in. And with that, they will have another Web Weaver wave. And they couldn't go for boss, by the way. They can definitely go for boss right now. With another 30 seconds on the Minion on Rhaegar, hell yeah, you can do that. And the only thing that TempoStorm can do is like try to maybe like get a hook in there. But that could turn around against them so fast. Because you have to remember that the damage dealer is down. And the healer is dead as well. So boss is taken. And Cognitive's just saying like, yeah, we dare you. You go in. You go and hook us. We are going to be on your ass so fast like you won't see it coming at all. So right now, we're having, once again, everybody rotating in. Boss is taken. There's the turn-in. And that's going to complete also the next Web Weaver wave. So things are really starting to get very, very tricky. In comes, again, the Web Weaver wave. At least it should. Last turn-in. Okay, Faye is already on it. Boss is already there. Stray has to use his ult and move away. And here comes Faye. Mighty Gust. And oh my god. Ancestral is ready. 20 versus 20 in Talons. The attack is happening, but KO is down. He's dead. Faye is trying to get away. Decides that it's just time to fight. Faye survives somehow, but Leoric is dead. Caterpillar is going in now too. It's a 5 versus 3 already. That boss is on the job and the Web Weavers are now coming in as well. This could be the 2-0 victory. This could definitely be it. If they move in now, then they have a very good shot of finishing the game. The Web Weaver is already on point here. And Caterpillar at the front is... Oh my god, they bait and condemn Rhaegar into the stun of the boss. He's down. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be game. Cognitive takes out TempoStorm with a 2-0 victory. Well done. And they advance to the next round of the loser bracket here at the end of the Storm Finals. GG, well played. Cognitive with the 2-0 victory.
And that is it, everybody. GG and well played. The game's over, and therefore also the video for today here on Khaldor TV. We had another great Heroes of the Storm match, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Also hope that you enjoyed the commentary, of course. So thank you very much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to Khaldor TV yet, you should definitely hit that sub button as well. If you have some friends that like Heroes of the Storm, then definitely make sure that you show them the channel and also the video. There's a lot more where that came from. We're going to have like continuous content throughout the next few weeks with more Heroes of the Storm matches played, not only on the European server, but also on the North American server, in tournaments, in leagues, and more than that. So guys, once again, thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope that you had some fun. It was a pleasure casting for you. And I'm going to see you next time with even more videos here on the channel. So have a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.